My hair is really curly, as you can see.
Raising a child.
When I was 18 years old, the night before I got married, I don't forget where it was where I wanted to go. And my mother told me no, and I was getting married the next day. So I just said to myself, good, you telling me that tonight, well, I'll be free tomorrow at 12 o'clock when I get married.
My father was more like, listen, don't speak. But my children, I always wanted them to have an opinion.
Growing up with a dad like him, who always challenged everything you wanted to do, it made me be very intentional about what I wanted to do. Like, one of the biggest things I'll never forget, I wanted to study abroad. And that was an uphill battle. It didn't help that Taken came out, I think. So it's like yes, I was able to study abroad, but that wasn't without very strict requirements, including calling like at least 2 to 3 times a day. But I was that kind of kid where I was like, all right, like, as long as you let me do what I want to do and it's not hurtful to me or anything, whatever, and I'll follow your rules. I'll call you 4 times a day. But I am so happy that I, went back and forth with my dad about my decision at 20 years old to do that, because it changed my life.
We were going through some bumps academically. He says, well, Mom, I'd rather not for high school go to a private school. It took a lot for me, but it's like, do it because I don't want it to make them feel like their opinion is not worth it. And thank God I did, because he's now soaring in school.
When I will let him have his own decisions, how about when he can formulate a sentence and explain to me why he wants that decision with a PowerPoint?
Every day for school, she says, London, what do you want for lunch? I pick the same thing every day. It's buttered chicken.
When I was little, my dad and my mom, they both picked out my outfits and stuff. And now since I'm like a little older, I get to pick out my own outfits and choose my own style. Sometimes I like to hear their opinion to say, no, you can't wear that. Or no, you can't do that.
I've always been a hovercraft.
What's a hovercraft?
Just, please, no, not on the monkey bars, no, but as a parent, you have to let them a bit free and open, because you flip a switch and, she's 16 and you flip another switch and she's getting married.
Sharing.
Teamwork.
Listen.
Communication, that is number one. Because without communication, the child will lack in so many other different areas, educationally, socially, even physically.
Being black has always been like a perception. That's why I say accept and understand everyone and all, because you're already being perceived as someone that you may definitely not be.
I always remember my mom telling, when you walk into a room, make sure your head is up. It says one thing when you walk with your shoulders back, your head up. It shows a sense of confidence compared to when you walk with your head down, As an adult now, I've realized the importance of that. And in particular, being a Black woman moving through space, I have to be confident. I have to show up as my full self in places. And I think I first learned that from her.
I want to try my best not to raise a toxic male. So making him understand women, and not even in a romantic way, just in a, hey, this is what the opposite sex goes through that you don't go through.
Just be kind.
One of the main things a daughter should be taught is, knowing when to say no and mean no.
Don't be an a-hole is what I really want to avoid, because that is something that can happen as well. And just trying to be a positive contributor, not only to society, but just to the people around you.
What age did you talk about sex with me, Dad?
I don't remember talking to you.
Me neither. You're a very direct person, but he also has indirect ways of sending a message as an artist, right? And so tell about what's hanging up.
This was, I would say 1977, around that time. And the New York Times had an article on 11 years old and pregnant. I just laid it down and copied it, and then I had it blown up and, hung it up.
So my whole life, there's a nice portrait of an article saying 11 years old and pregnant. I just always have that image replaying in my head, especially when I turned 11.
My parents never talked to me about sex. It was like, don't do it.
I had the conversation with them at different ages. With Sapphire, I had that conversation with her when she got her menstruation. And I wanted to make it special for her. I bought a necklace with a flower. We celebrated. Because that wasn't done for me. It was like, oh my gosh, now you can get pregnant. And I'm 12. I'm like, what? So I certainly didn't want my daughter to have that memory stamped in her head. So I made it special for her. Stephen, on the other hand, Stephen came to me and said, Mommy, I want to have sex so bad.
Oh.
And he was 11 or 12, and I almost fainted. But he didn't know that. I was standing strong. I remember the prayers.
To be honest, I don't remember that conversation. So I've talked to Dad a couple times because I felt like I had to talk to him at some point, and I haven't. And I think he kind of got hurt a little bit that I wasn't coming to him too much. So I was like, let me just get over myself. It's like my best friend right here. So talk to you like two adults, face to face, none wrong.
You know what? I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
But my conversation with Mom and sex was, I feel like 7 or 8.
I think I was like 10.
I remember my moment. Someone had said something and I was really curious about it. And it actually was a conversation about like diseases. As a kid, my curious mind was like, how do you get that? And it became like, well, it became a whole conversation.
Mine was after, actually, was watching Oprah. Oh. And an episode came on about speaking to your kids about sex. And she said, while we're here. I said, oh my goodness.
To be honest with you, I feel like I kind of already had parts of the talk. She was even in the labor and delivery room with me. And, that conversation was discussed prior to what she would see, how this happened. It wasn't like, the baby came from the sky. Having a little brother, she learned about them having different body parts and so forth. So I believe at 8, London knows a lot.
Because some of it she could have held back a little bit longer, but she's a mom and she's, it's a new generation and it's a new time.
And I work at a rec center and I've been doing summer camp for the past 10 years now. And I'm dealing with 6 to 12-year-olds. And it amazes me every summer how smarter these kids are getting. Like they are very, very aware of everything that's going on. To hear what these kids say to each other, and even if they're joking and they don't even know exactly what they're saying, the fact that they're able to say it, it makes me look back like, what did you just say?
But you said like 6 years old. Now, if one of my children would come to me 6 years old and say something about sex, I would just catch him by the hand real nice, come with Mommy. Go in the room. I'll come back, bring you some water, and lock him up to the 16 years old.
Every child makes mistakes. That's a part of growing up.
I think first own up to it, because I think with kids are like, oh, I didn't do that. Oh, and that was there already. So I think once you own up, you could move on from that and you could learn from your mistake and try not to repeat it.
I think when I was younger, if I made a mistake, you think that the world is over. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do this right or whatever. And you just get, you're young, so you think that you don't realize how much more life you have. You have plenty of time to correct this action and plenty of time to, adjust the trajectory of your life so that you can end up recovering from its mistake.
If something is a big deal, then you make a big deal. But if something is not a big deal, don't make a big deal out of it, because life is hard as it is. Pick and choose your battles, So if it's spilling something on the floor, yes, it's annoying or a lot, but it's probably a lot for the child too, So by saying, okay, we'll clean it up versus like, clean it up, yields 2 different responses.
My mother was so strict. Back then, we'd be outside until a certain time. My time was 10 o'clock. I had to be in the house. I turned 17, and I said, I'm 17, can I stay out at least till 11? And she said, no. I came upstairs after 11 o'clock, and all my clothes was on the floor. Like, I told you not to come in my house after 10 o'clock. So I said, when I have kids, I'm not gonna be that strict. I gotta give them, some room to grow.
My mom she really didn't give any of us really chores per se, but it was something different with my brother though. Never had to really do the same things like I had to do. I don't do that with Stephen and Sapphire. That's it. You have a week to clean the bathroom, each of you, and you interchange and you do it. This week is her week, the next week is yours.
Therapy and mental health is something that my parents didn't talk a lot about. That was something that they didn't really, I don't know if they even understood it as much. And even those terms were not even words that we used a lot when we were younger. Like, somebody was just mad, they were just mad, or they were stressed out, they were stressed out. We didn't really understand depression and anxiety and mental health, and also what you can do to combat those things.
My parents did do that with me though. They were both counselors, so we talked about feelings all the time.
Just saying morning to each other when we get up, the most important thing. Acknowledging each other. That's important, and I think that's something that keeps going on with time.
That was about right. Like, I always want to say, like, how are you? How was school today? How's your day going? Yeah. How was work? Like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I help to plan, build self-esteem, or making sure that he knows that he is worthy. He worked hard for things. He deserves things. He needs to work hard for them. They should not be given to him.
Every day when we're driving to school, she tells me to do my affirmations. I say I am bold, I am powerful, I am amazing, I am intelligent, I can do whatever I put my mind to. I am also significant to the world.
My mom is a really dainty woman, she doesn't wear flats, she has her little high heels and she wears them all the time, even in the house. Presentation was always really important to her, even when it was just us, even when it's just the family in the house. And so I think that I learned from her the importance of always just being your best self, always working on getting to the best version of yourself.
Mama always tells me how pretty I am. So that's nice. She's good with that. She's good with saying, oh, you look beautiful. And not even about looks, but just like, oh, you doing good, or whether it's with work or whether with anything. She's like, oh, you doing good. So she likes to, build people up that's around her.
Each one, I love them all the same. But I want each one of them to think, oh, Mama loves me more than
She's telling the secret.
Like I said, we didn't have much, but we had love. Mm-hmm. And see, one thing that I always said I was going to do, we knew my mother and father loved us. But see, I always come out and go, I love you. I tell all of them that. If I'm talking to them, anything, I go, I love you. Every night. See, my mom, like I say, she didn't do that. We knew she loved us.
By her actions.
By her actions, and like I say too, we didn't want to see our mother laying in the floor out of breath from telling all 9 of us.
Yeah, I think when you have 9 children, it's a little difficult to make every single one feel special, right?
Well, we felt special, but like I said,
it was too much.
She didn't have that much wind.
I'm gonna say this now. I did not feel this way before, but the protectiveness did help me build my self-esteem, because I always felt like, there's someone who loves me, there's someone who's looking out for me, there's someone who wants to see the best, out of me and things like that. So whenever, I went out into the world and things, it was like, okay, like, it's cool if this person, doesn't like me, or, whatever it is, like, it's cool. Like, I come from love. I come from people who have the best intentions for me. So that helped build my self-esteem.
So instilling African pride into my child is very important. You know, he is African American and African, which are two separate things, even though obviously they connect. And I want him to experience that connection. I mean, I didn't go back to Ghana until I was in like my late 20s. And that was one of the most revelatory experiences of my life. I would love for him to experience that and understand what that means, so that he can be proud of it and you know, take that with him wherever he goes.
We used to argue about this all the time of like like African roots and slavery, but it's like I think there's still a lot of pride that you should take because our ancestors survived. Our ancestors were here, you know. We are from a generation that is extremely powerful and extremely strong because they survived the hundreds of years of slavery. So I do find some pride in that, and I will pass that down.
Dealing with the things of being Black, you've already been told that you can't. So I think esteem, knowing that you're beautiful, knowing that you can accomplish anything, and seeing people on television, being a gymnastic, being a swimmer, politician, to seeing that and you just go like, look, the world is your oyster. Those possibilities are there. Whatever has been said, it's unproven, and you can take the world by the scuff of his collar, and you could be stronger. I mean, you probably have to work 10 times harder than others, but being strong, Black, and knowing you are, and never backing down from that, not saying violence or anything else, but never backing down from who you are and your strengths and your qualities and what you bring to the table is the most important thing.